Last week, I got a big old dose of COVID and didn't quite get as much coverage as I would have liked of Steve's final repairs on the Leopard, but I did manage to get the last bit of testing and driving. Hi, I'm Kurt from Oz Armour and welcome to Workshop Wednesday.
Well, we're getting really close to the pointy end of actually being able to test drive the thing. It hasn't been completely smooth sailing. The brake system wasn't generating pressure, and a 40-tonne main battle tank, you want to make sure that you've got good brakes on it. So we couldn't test the transmission until the brakes were working properly. So that's taken some time to troubleshoot. And this is the brake accumulator, and it's actually charged with nitrogen under 50 bar of pressure in here to help the power assistance for the brakes. And inside this unit was a regulating valve, which is a bit sticky, so it's a matter of taking that out, freeing it up, re-priming the system and getting it working. This thing here is the brake pressure warning sensor. So this thing, if the pressure is below 85 bar, turns on a warning light on the dashboard, and you know really that the brakes aren't working properly. The other thing too that was happening at the same time, the engine was shutting off. So I'd start the engine up and 2 seconds later it would shut down. The electric shut-off system for the tank's engine was operating, and after looking through the manual and consulting with Jason, there's a system in the tank that if it senses that the cooling level drops by 20 litres, that it automatically shuts the engine off. The warning light wasn't quite operating properly to tell me that it was that low, so it took a little bit of head scratching to work out what it is. There's a couple of level sensors inside the header tank for the cooling system. What I discovered is that even though the fluid looked full in the header tank, the difference between the level of the liquid being here and here was almost 20 litres. Now we're at the point where we can actually test the operation of the transmission. Out of an abundance of caution, we've towed the tank back, so it's sort of in the middle of the workshop. I've obviously had it running, but I haven't actually had the tank driving yet, so I've got to cycle it through forward and reverse and the gear settings. Statically run the engine and start first, second, third, fourth, check reverse to make sure that it's turning in the right direction and that you can actually see that the gears are operating. So once we're happy with that, then we'll screw the drives back in, and then it's going to be time for a test drive.
Before we put the engine deck on, there's one little secret we wanted to show off.
This is a really nice artefact. It's actually commissioning and service record for the engine. So I'm being quite careful with it because the paper is fairly delicate. But yeah, so it's like, I guess, a registration card for the engine from MTU.
As you can see from this imprint of the casting, this engine was built on the 21st of January 1970.
It's got the date there that it was actually commissioned or put into service, so 19th of the 9th, 1970. So it's just a little bit more than 1 year older than what I am. So, but yeah, it's a nice little artefact, and it actually shows that in 1978, so in March 1978, it went in for some service work. It seems that they've replaced some bearings in the engine, and it was done by MTU, and it was completed 5 months later. Well,
it took them 5 months to change some bearings out.
Yeah, well, I guess that probably the engine was done on exchange. So the last time that there's been a record of work done on the internals of the engine is 1978. So, I mean, I think that German engineering takes a bit of stick, but it's pretty good considering this is like, near on 53 years old.
Time to get into the last bit of testing.
This is the brake warning light here. After I've pushed it about 4 times, the warning light comes on, which means that the system pressure has dropped below 80 bar. And then when I start the engine up, the warning light should go off pretty quickly because then the system has recharged the pressure and it's ready to go again. All right, so I'm going to start it up. We'll just make sure that the light switches off. Yeah, so straight away the brake warning light goes off, which means that the system's working properly. So
great.
We can move on to the next step, which is doing a static test of the transmission without the drive system connected together, so that we can run the transmission through first, second, third, fourth gear, and then in reverse first and second without worrying about limitations to do with space and running into stuff.
All right, ready, Steve? How good's that?
Yeah. Got that really nice V10 burble to it. We've just got to check reverse now.
Okay.
Make sure that we've got both gears in reverse. So we have first and second in reverse. So 4 forward and two reverse gears.
Great. How will you know if it's... Do you want me to tell you if it's spinning the right way?
Yeah, well, if you remember the way that it was turning before, it's got to make sure it's turning the opposite way to that in reverse.
I'll review the footage.
Yes.
All right.
We can review it together.
Yeah, okay. Success.
Okay, so static testing is done. We'll reconnect the drive flanges and see if it actually works for real. The final drives have been cleverly made so that you can actually disconnect it from the transmissions. The piece that's winding in and out is actually attached to the tank, and as you screw it in, the flange comes together and it has teeth on it, and it engages with this drive flange on the transmission. The teeth themselves are sort of cut at a bit of an angle, so even if they're not completely lined up, they'll sort of move over each other and clip into place. We've got a special tool that engages inside the final drive, and it's 27 turns. So
27 turns.
27 turns of this. That's why I put some red tape on here so that I can count the number of turns to make sure it goes in properly. Because if you don't go far enough, then you could do some serious damage. It's spring loaded, which has like a lock in it. It took me a bit of a while to work out the sort of, you've got to fiddle around with it a little bit with the plastic mallet. So I'll count.
Here you can actually see Steve winding in the final drives into the transmission.
Should be close, it's gone more than 27. All right, so it's tightened up now.
Yep.
Then you just back it off 2 turns. Right, so that's set. Now I've just got to do the other side. Yeah, this one's working straight away. All done.
Dunskies.
Yeah, so I think backing it off after screwing it up tight, backing it up off a couple of turns allows probably room for thermal expansion of the whole transmission assembly, so it's not all bound up really tight. But yeah, getting closer to road test time.
Nicely done.
Last to go in are all the little caps and closing up the access hatches.
You can see by the big O-ring here, that's to seal the tank up, so you wouldn't want to be the tank crewman that did this up and didn't put it in properly and you went swimming and you drowned the tank. I've only got one more after this, and then we're done. So this is actually how you can get to the engine mounting bolts. fiddly.
All right, ready?
Time to test.
Time to test.
Okay.
Well, it looks like at least the drives are engaged. Here you can see Steve testing the brakes, and they seem to be working okay. At last, after many long months, the leopard finally emerges from its den. It took some time, but Steve did a fantastic job on this repair, and we hope you've enjoyed following along. Without his skill and dedication, this Oz Armourfest fan favourite would be relegated to the static display area. Now she's running better than ever. Our next vehicle on Steve's repair list is the T55, so we'll be sure to let you in on how he goes with that one. Sorry for the shorter than usual video this week. I should be back at full video making capacity in time for next Wednesday's weekly tank restoration fix. So until then, I'm Kurt from Oz Armour, and I'll see you on the next one.